Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician with over 20 years of medical practice, and today I want to discuss with you intermittent fasting and 7 things that you really should know before you start. So, intermittent fasting is very powerful. It's very ancient. You may have friends and neighbors who are using intermittent fasting to improve or even optimize their health. And I want you to use intermittent fasting. I definitely think it's a good thing, but there are a few things you should know first, just so that you're comfortable with this and you do it the right way. Now, if this video sounds like something that you're interested in, I make lots of videos on YouTube about different health topics. Click that subscribe button and the little bell notification button right beside it, and that way you'll get a notification every time I have a bright idea. Now, let's talk about intermittent fasting and the 7 things that you should know before you begin. Number one, surprise, surprise, you already intermittent fast. You do it every night when you're asleep for 6 to 8 to 10 hours, however many hours of sleep you get a night, you are intermittent fasting. You're not eating and you're not drinking. That is fasting. That's the definition. And so don't think that fasting is some magical, dangerous, weird thing that nobody does. Every human on the planet who sleeps every night intermittent fasts while they're asleep. So I promise you it's safe, it's not dangerous. And number one is you already do it. Number two, it is completely natural and normal. We all do it. All animals do this. Human beings as a species have fasted for days at times. And I'm not recommending you start off with a 3 day or a 7 day fast. That's definitely not where you should start. We're going to get into that a little later in this video. But ancestrally, there's copious amounts of anthropological and paleological evidence that humans have fasted since the beginning of the species. It is completely natural and normal. Number three, you can start very slowly. Now, I alluded earlier that you already fast every day. And so, what if instead of fasting for 8 hours every 24-hour period, like you already do if you sleep 8 hours, what if you fasted for 9 hours? So you wake up and you don't eat anything for an extra hour each day. Now you're fasting for 9 hours a day. And that's going to have a tiny amount of health optimization benefits for you. There's tons of research that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video that show that fasting is not only safe, it's also very, very healthy. Okay, and so what if you stopped eating an hour before you went to bed and then didn't eat an hour after you woke? That's a 10-hour fast. Now you're fasting 10 hours a day. You can see how very easily you can add an hour a week. And so every week, add another hour to your fast. It looks like, according to most of the research, that you really start to gain the benefits of fasting after about an 18-hour fast. But if that sounds too daunting, don't start there. Just start with adding 1 hour to the amount of time you were asleep that you're not eating. And so starting with a 9 hour a day fast is a great place to start. Now, the next one is it's very, very safe. Number four, it's very safe. Okay. There is tons of research about intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, longer fasting. It is very, very safe. And I've included a link to a lot of this research down below. You're going to find research articles that show that fasting lowers your blood sugar, lower your insulin level in a good way, lower your blood pressure, decrease markers of inflammation, decrease aging markers, all these things. So fasting is a very, very powerful thing. 50,000 years ago, when humans didn't have anything to eat for a few days, they called it starving. But now we can do it in a controlled fashion and do it by choice, and it's called fasting. And rather than our body degrading and breaking down and becoming weak and dying if we don't eat every 2 hours like big food would like for us to, your body actually learned how to use the fasting period to rebuild and renew and restore. And that's what some of this research down below talks about. Next, number five, please get your diet situated first before you start intermittent fasting. Now, you could start intermittent fasting while you're eating a crappy, garbage filled standard American diet, but you're not going to gain all of the benefits, and it probably will be harder. When you're eating a very high carbohydrate diet, you are either a little bit or a lot of bit addicted to the carbs and the sugar and the grains. And you'll go through a withdrawal process, just like if you were smoking or drinking or using a drug. But if you will become fat adapted first before you start the intermittent fasting, it's very, very, very much easier to fast. And so, a low carb or a ketogenic or a carnivore diet, do one of these diets for a few weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, get used to that, get fat adapted. And then what you'll find is that intermittent fasting is almost effortless. It's really nice. Number 6, all humans who eat a modern diet are deficient in magnesium, potassium, sodium, maybe even chloride. We don't get enough of these minerals. And there's actually a research study out there that I'll put a link to down below that shows that all of the vegetables and all of the animal foods that we eat today have 70% less of the electrolytes as they had a few hundred years ago. And so all of our food is severely depleted in magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Human beings are by nature very salty creatures. We need lots of sodium and magnesium and chloride and potassium. And so you may want to utilize some sort of potassium and magnesium supplement. Like I love Keto Chow's electrolyte drops. I put a few drops in each cup of coffee. That way I know that I'm replacing the magnesium and potassium that I'm not getting from my diet. Because even if I say a cow, for instance, is grass fed, grass finished, non-GMO, organic, panda massaged, they still don't have as much magnesium and potassium in their meat as they did even 100 years ago. So you may want to supplement electrolytes for that very reason. Now, number 7, the final one, is that if you are pregnant or if you're breastfeeding or if you're a growing child, you don't need to fast. You are already, by definition, very, very young and very healthy. You don't need to fast while you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you're a growing child, say under the age of 15 or 16. It is ancestrally perfectly normal for you to fast. It's probably fine for you to fast, but because doctors are very afraid of anything bad happening to a pregnant woman or a woman who's breastfeeding or a young child, we officially recommend you don't need to fast if you are in one of those 3 conditions. Now, I actually have many more things that you should know before you start fasting. I've got intermittent fasting volume 2 coming, and so you can look for that. And when it does go live, I'll link it here or here. So you can click on that and watch intermittent fasting, 7 more things you should know. Okay. Now, if you know someone who's thinking about fasting or is already trying to do some intermittent fasting, please consider sharing this video with them. There's a little share button. You can share this on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Vero, Gab. You can send an email. You can send a text message. But if you know someone who's trying to fast, please share this video with them. All right. This is Dr. Berry. I'll see you next time.